Welcome, and thank you for joining us for Sunday service at the Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Whether you're here in person or tuning in from afar, we're grateful to share this sacred time with you. We are a loving, prospering, and inclusive community in the heart of Denver.
Our services are held in a hybrid format at the historic Grant Avenue Community Center and Sacred Place, located at 216 South Grant Street. At CSL Denver, all are welcome. We are a place, a space, and a face of love. A spiritual community practicing universal principles that enrich and transform our lives.
Your presence is a blessing. If you're joining us online, feel free to say hello in the comments so we can celebrate you and your light.
Life brings many experiences, and you never have to walk through them alone. Our licensed spiritual practitioners are available for personal prayer support. Their names and contact information can be found on our website at csldenver.org.
You may also email prayer requests to info@csldenver.org. Convenient links are included in the description of this broadcast. We extend deep gratitude for your participation, your financial contributions, generosity, and your continued support of our services, classes, and community events. If you'd like to stay connected and informed, we invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter on our website.
We continue to live stream all services every Sunday on Facebook, YouTube, and the New Thought Media Network.
Wherever you are, you can join us in real time. Thank you for your precious attention and for being part of this beloved community. Now, take a breath, open your heart, and prepare for an experience of inspiration and spiritual nourishment.
There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden where God's grace blooms. There is a garden where everything grows, a beautiful garden where love is sown. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden. That garden is you. And in this place of light and love, you can have anything that you're dreaming of. There is a garden where dreams come true, a beautiful garden that garden is you. Such a beautiful garden. That garden is you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Denver. I'd like to welcome the familiar faces back, as well as some new guests we have today. It's very, very pleasurable to see you all coming in on this wonderful July morning. I invite you to get settled in your seats and close your eyes and take a cleansing breath in through your nose and release through your mouth. Go ahead and take another cleansing breath and release. And in the moment of these cleansing breaths, know that there is the one power, the one presence, the one divine spirit that is in, through, and around each and every one of us. That divine spirit is guiding us, comforting us, sheltering us, and allowing us to be me. And as we move through this service, allow yourself to be me. Allow yourself to absorb the wonderful wisdom of Reverend Elzia, the words of my reading, the music of Susan Clark, just the consciousness and the love of this Center for Spiritual Living Denver. And we know that we are blessed, as well as all are blessed, who create the understanding of spirituality and consciousness in their own lives, whether they're in a synagogue, a temple, a mosque, out in nature, or simply at home sitting in your chair, getting ready for the next sporting event. And so as we move through this service, we express our gratitude for the presence of the power and the power of the one. And so it is. And our theme for the July, and July is the best month of the year. It's my birth month. So as we move through July, we're moving through, the theme is embracing our wholeness. And today's talk is honoring and loving all of myself. Honoring all of myself is really alignment, recognizing that your whole inner world, your thoughts, your feelings, your past and desires, and also events, the parts even that you've disowned, belong to the same divine presence, and therefore can be redeemed and not rejected. What you're experiencing is not proof that you're bad or evil. It's material to understand and to transform. The presence in you doesn't condemn, it restores. If you practice focusing on wholeness, you begin to change what you experience from the inside. You accept yourself as you are, and you grow. Instead of treating the misdeeds as a flaw, treat them as a teacher. Turn from the story that you're disgraceful and return to the truth that you are inherently worthy. You don't have to be perfect to be spiritual. You learn through consciousness. Even your shadow or painful memories can become fuel for greater understanding when met with love rather than denial. One way to affirm this thinking is to practice affirmations, such as, I honor every part of me. I am safe to be whole. I release judgment and return to the recognition of change. And from our founder, Ernest Holmes, we have within us a power that is greater than anything we shall ever contact in the outer. And now let's go ahead and move to our song for today. Susan Clark is our musician for the month of July, and she's singing a Jami Lula song titled, You're Perfect.
Hello, CSL Denver. Susan Clark with you to provide some music for your service. I hope everybody's doing great. I picked out one of my favorite Jami Lula songs to sing for you. And I know Jami has a special place in his heart for CSL Denver, and he's visited you several times. I hope you enjoy my version of his very beautiful song called Perfect. In my eyes, in my mind, in my heart, in my soul, in my life I've been searching for something, but you were my dream. You're perfect, you're golden, you're light, you're love. You're perfect, you're golden, you're my light, my love. When I breathe, when I swallow, caress, I feel. When I listen, I hear the most beautiful music out of nowhere. You're perfect, you're golden, you're light, you're love. You're perfect, you're golden, you're my light, my love. Lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di-di, and all the angels sing. Lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di. When I'm sad and dark, shallow and in doubt, when I'm trying my best to put one foot in front of the other, you're perfect, you're golden, you're the light of my life, you're my love from forever. In your reflection, I'm perfect. So I'll keep looking at you to keep witnessing my perfection in you. As me and all the angels hear them sing. Lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di-di. Can you hear them now? Lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di, lighty-di-di-di-di. You're always there, you never leave. You're holding me, you set me free. Your guiding light, your empathy, your confidence to express in and out and through me. You're perfect, You're golden. You're the light of my life. You're my love from forever. And your reflection, I'm perfect. So I'll keep looking at you to be witnessing my perfection in you as me. Hear all those angels sing, they're singing. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. Hear them now. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. Sing it with me now. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da. You're perfect, you're golden, you're light, you're love. Thank you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, Susan, for that perfect song of perfection. Because we know that it's an unfolding and ever occurring theme in all of our lives. And I just want to first and foremost say, welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love, spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and applying universal principles to empower our lives and the lives of others. And what a great time to have that on our hearts as we step into the month of July, and we have the Declaration of Independence celebration yesterday on the 4th, that in my mind speaks to wholeness. It was a idea that was founded of wholeness, to understand and realize that all people are created equal under the eyes of God. Now, that's a hard thing to put into practice, as we've seen over the 250 years, but we are ever growing and ever evolving into that idea. And so before we get started, let's just take a moment to go within and to allow ourselves to be centered in the mind and heart of God so that we can receive the infinite blessings and wisdom and guidance that is always available. Infinite Spirit, source of all life, wisdom, and understanding. We pause in this sacred moment to go within. We open our minds and we allow the receptivity of our very soul to be illumined with the light of the divine. We allow it to rise within us, to be a guiding force, to make us whole. And so we trust and we know that every thought today moves us in a direction of clarity. Every idea illumines our path, and that as we take steps toward who and what we truly are, we become joyous participants in this thing called life. And so we affirm that we stand in a current of ever-flowing love, of ever-flowing wholeness from the divine. And that with this awareness, we allow ourselves to be still and know that we are created in the image of the divine, which is one, whole, and complete. And it is not in that idea that we release, we let go, and we know that it is so, and so it is. Amen. And so welcome to a new month of celebration and fireworks, as we said. I hope everybody has fireworks going off inside to talk about this celebration of life, this celebration of oneness, this celebration of wholeness that this beginning of summer, if you will, brings us back to. And so as we step into this new month, we're looking at embracing wholeness. Embracing wholeness. And we want to stop and pause and say that once again. Embracing wholeness. And the one way to do that is by honoring and loving all the parts of ourselves. We love and honor all the parts of ourselves. Because if we look at all the spiritual traditions, at the heart of all of them, beneath all the names and stories of ourselves and all the faults and all these things that make us up, there was one truth, that there is the one life that lives and moves and has its being in each and every one of us. But unfortunately, we not so unfortunate, because we know there are no accidents or mistakes in the universe. So we just use that as a prompt to make us wake up, right? But when we look at this journey into wholeness, the first thing that we have to realize is that when we honor ourselves, we have to pause and ask ourselves this question: what part of myself have I disowned? Have I discounted? Have I put in the background, made apologies for, because they were not integrated in the composite of me? How many parts of ourselves have we casted out, hidden, or hid from? Because as we begin to strive for awakening, I know awakening sometimes now gets a bad word. Anything with awake in it, it's just like, even if it's awake from a boat in the ocean, they don't look at it too kindly. But we have to awaken to who we truly are. And that's what this whole idea of embracing wholeness and the very fact of loving all parts of ourselves. Loving all parts of ourselves. Because too often we segment ourselves into the wanted and the unwanted. And we allow the good parts, the shiny parts, the perfect parts, the spiritual parts to show up. And we hide the fearful and the angry and the disappointed and the judgmental. We hide all those, but they're still there. And that self that you think you are presenting, that's so pristine, you know, we've seen the cartoons where you got the whole cast of characters behind you, and you're trying to present one thing, and they're enticing you and poking at you and just saying, wait a minute, what about me? Why don't you integrate me into that story? Because we've been taught not wholeness. We've been taught separation. We've been taught to be ashamed of who we really are. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Because I know for myself, I often look back in the mirror of the road behind me, you know, because I don't want to turn back around. I might be tempted to go back that way for some strange reason. So I look at it in the mirror, and I realize that those things, and often looked upon as bad or stumbling blocks, or boy, I wish that didn't happen to me, turned out to be the awakening moment of my life that created who and what I am today. And I'm sure if each one of you were to just look in that mirror in the road behind, you would see the same thing. You would see the same thing. And I think, you know, I love Carl Jung for his whole storyline of the collective unconsciousness and the whole idea of archetypes, because that whole story speaks to the oneness of all things, and depending on place, time, and circumstance, a different aspect of the whole reveals itself. Whether it's the sacred mother or the warrior or the jester or the fool, or all these different archetypes that appear, they're all a part of you. They make up the whole story. And I think, one of the best stories that reenacts this whole thing is the story from ancient Egypt of Isis, Osiris, and Set. Now, some of you may be familiar. If you haven't heard that story or refresh your mind, go and look up that story. But I'll give you a little synopsis right here, where Isis is this metaphysical idea of wholeness and balance and order and justice. And her husband, Osiris, represents the becoming of who you are, the resurrection of everything in life. And Osiris's brother Set represents chaos, or better termed, I like to say, the process of transformation. Because chaos has gotten a bad word, and when we're looking at wholeness, we know there is nothing that is not useful, not valuable, something to be cast aside. So we look at that in that light. And so as the story goes, Set, which is also represented sometimes by the shadow, was upset with Osiris, this process of becoming. And he takes him and he dismembers him and spreads him all over the countryside. And when Ma'at finds out about this, she's heartbroken, because her whole thing is justice and order and balance and reciprocity. And so she goes out and finds all of the parts of Osiris and remembers, put them back together in a wholeness. And from that, we have this story of Osiris who goes through the underworld or goes through the death process and becomes resurrected whole. How many of us need a resurrection into wholeness? We've casted away so many parts and spread them so far and wide that we can hardly stand. We need to be remembered. We need to be resurrected and step back into this process of becoming. Now, Joseph Campbell says this, and we know Joseph was steeped into archetypes and those things. And so when we look at what Joseph Campbell said this: the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Which means you can't start dismembering pieces you don't like. You can't start, well, you can. I take that back, because we always had choice. So you can do that. But I guarantee you, there will be a gaping hole in the presence of who you are. You ever tried to go to a work or go to a party and you are really pissed off, but you figure you got to go and try to act like you on point, but you're really mad or pissed off. And you think you're doing a good job of showing that you're right there as a whole person, but everybody sees it except you, that, man, something is wrong right there. Look at that facial expression. Look how they standing. Look at the tone of voice. That is not a whole person coming to present. Now, you can come to work and be mad if you want. That's all right. That's part of life. You can be disappointed. That's part of life. But when I try to separate those things as if they're not a part of the wholeness of who I am, now we're stepping into dangerous territory. We're stepping into dangerous territory because we are a reflection of everyone else. Even though you can't see it, I can see it. Why? Because I remember when I did it. I remember when I tried to fool myself. It didn't work. It didn't work. And so too often we segment ourselves into these places where we get lost within ourselves. We get lost within ourselves. And God has given us this perfect example of wholeness, of parts, and it's called every system and organ and everything that makes up me and you. We got a circulatory system and a respiratory system and a nervous system, and we got all these individual systems that are very much vital to our very existence. But if they don't come together and work in harmony, there is no existence. And so we have to love that if I start running down the street, that my lungs and heart say, wait a minute, I got to beat fast and take more air in. I don't get mad at them and say, you know, I was hurting. That heartbeat is, no, I don't want you to slow down. I don't want you to speed up, because that's getting the oxygen. That's creating that composite wholeness. And that's what we want. We want to be whole. We want to be complete. We do not want to walk around as disparate parts, because we can't, as Campbell said, be who we are. I couldn't be me if they start, well, I'm good for a little while, but if they start taking too many parts away, then I'm not going to be who I am. And that's what we want everybody to be, exactly who they are. Exactly who they are. And so to do that, we have to stop, I believe, making apologies for who we are. Because think about it. Think about when you make an apology, whether you feel it's the right thing or the wrong thing, needed or not needed. The purpose of that apology is trying to bring something back in, to make amends. And so I think we have to stop apologizing and trying to bring these disparate parts in, because they didn't go anywhere. They're still there. What we need to do is embrace them, not apologize for them. Embrace them. And so the question becomes, are you ready to look at life in a new way? Most people tell you, yeah, you got to apologize, but are you ready to look at life in a new way? This famous philosopher, I'm sure all of you are familiar with him, called Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss said this: you have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. So we can steer ourselves to wholeness, or we can steer ourselves into separation. We are at choice. That's what the divine has given us this divine mind for, to choose. And as was said earlier when Tim was, it is the process of alignment that allows us to make good choices. It allows us to make good choices. And so I want to just give us 3 grounding points. 3 grounding points, I think, that will allow us to begin this process of wholeness, of loving all the parts of ourselves. And the first thing, I think, is one of the cornerstones of our teachings by Dr. Holmes. I'm going to say it in a different way. And that is, we have to renew the inner conversations we have with ourselves. We have to take a look at how we talk to and about ourselves. Because we know that thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. And so the way we speak to ourselves becomes the atmosphere in which we live. And I'm going to bear witness that you can't fool the universe. I tried to act like I was happy, but I wasn't, and it didn't work. I tried to act like I was, settle with myself and my mistakes and my disappointments. Didn't work. You cannot hide from yourself. And so it begins to create this atmosphere. And so if our inner language is judgment and condemnation and fearfulness, that's what's going to outpicture in our lives. Happens not just to me, it happens to everybody. And so, again, we have to have that inner conversation. We have to pick that mirror up and look and figure out, who do I want to be in this moment? What part of myself have I casted out that I need to embrace in love? And when we can do that, this whole being, your whole being, becomes a sanctuary of compassion, a sanctuary of remembering who you are and embracing all the parts so that you can stand taller and speak clearer and smile broader, because we know who we are. We know who we are. And it requires this. It requires watching the voice inside. Some of us would never speak to another person the way we speak to ourselves. We would never do it. But we call ourselves all kinds of names and put all kinds of things on ourselves. And it's creating an atmosphere. And don't be surprised when it shows up now, because we are co-creators in this world. And so we must begin to renew how we have this inner conversation with ourselves so that we can wake into a new light. Now, the second thing is in line with that, and it helps put that in perspective, is we have to begin to honor our story. No matter how tragic, no matter how joyous, or no matter how haphazard it may be. Because that story has made you who you are. I mean, we've all said that. We've all said, had I not got fired from this job or had that breakup, I would not be where I am or who I am or doing what I do. But if we cast that off as separate from us and we don't embrace that part of ourselves in love, we become disabled. Disabled to make a choice. Disabled to be reborn. Disabled to love all the parts of ourselves. Life scatters everything to the winds. It's the nature of the universe. But there's that process of remembering. There's the process of allowing all of the grief and all of the mishaps and all those things to go out, experience, and come back like the prodigal son. Each one of those are a prodigal son in the composite of you. They had to go out and realize, if you've never experience grief, it's very difficult to experience joy. They're two sides of a coin. They need to be embraced, not separated. So when we can do that and begin to look at life in a new way and embrace that, it becomes easier and easier to honor ourselves and to honor who and what we are. And gather these pieces that appear to be lost and put them back together. Yeah, how many people here love jigsaw puzzles? Well, that's what we're doing. We're trying to imagine that vision, that picture on the box, and look at all these pieces and put it back together so we can see that glorious image of who and what we are. Now, if you start stepping up to the 1,000 pieces and the 2,000 piece puzzles, boy, you got to get its own table. You got to spread them out wide, and it takes time. You just put it there. Sometimes you walk by, you get 3, 4 pieces. Sometimes you walk by and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? But sooner or later, you get into a rhythm. You align yourself with that image, and you bit by bit put that puzzle together. And I know for me, and I would imagine it might be the same for others, sometimes I walk by for days, maybe weeks, looking at it, and nothing's happening. I'm getting frustrated. So I go on the other side of the table, or I stand, I sit, and then I see one piece, and I put that one piece in, several pieces just fall right into place. There was a part over there that I was ignoring for whatever reason. That's what we do to ourselves. But when we can look at life and understand that this process of wholeness is loving all the parts, then we begin to put the puzzle together. We begin to see the image. We begin to step into the essence of who we are. Of who we are. Desmond Tutu said this: your story is your power. Your story is your power. So when you discard that story, when you don't allow that story to arise, we're missing something. Who wants to go to a movie without a plot? There's never been a movie without there's always appearing to be an antagonist or protagonist in a movie or a book. Right? They're trying to figure out, they're doing that dance that we do every day with ourselves. We're each a story, and that story is powerful because of all the parts in it. All the parts in it. And so last but not least, in this 3-point grounding, once we've, had this inner conversation, we renew that conversation of looking inside and figuring it out and embracing and making friends again. And then we begin to honor our story. Last but not least, we can begin to remember ourselves. We can put this thing back together like that puzzle. We can remember in both ways, remembering who God created us to be, and remember, put it all together. When we do that, we have to remember who we are. Parker J. Palmer, who's a great author. He does stuff with education. He does a lot of stuff. But he said this in his book, A Hidden Wholeness. Wholeness does not mean perfection. It means embracing brokenness as an integral part of life. Embracing it all. Embracing it all. There's this, some of you may have heard of this concept of Japanese art called kintsugi. Right? Kintsugi is this idea in Japan where if you have a plate or something of value or something that you respect that gets broken, it's the process of taking it and putting it back together with gold. All those cracks are filled in with gold. And as a result of that, it becomes more valuable than it was when it was unbroken. No matter what the value at the beginning, if it was, $5, now it may be $10. If it's $1 million, maybe $1,002,000 now, who knows? But the idea of remembering that piece together with gold highlights, as that Rumi poem says or quote says, that, those cracks are the places where the light comes in. And they do it with gold to represent that light, to represent this idea of kintsugi. Remembering who we are. I want to give you this story to kind of settle this whole idea in. There once was a little girl who was traumatized very early in life. About 8 years old, she was traumatized. And as a result of that trauma, which caused her to separate, we know that's what trauma does, and we see that now with the PTSD and all of the modalities we're using to remember people, especially our soldiers who took a big stand in the independence of this country. Well, that little girl, after that trauma, went silent. She didn't speak for 5 years. 5 years she didn't speak because she was too scattered, too dismembered. And ironically, there was a teacher, get this, that was named Miss Flowers to come and give some beauty to the place, to encourage her to read poetry and encourage her to look at the beauty of life and the integratedness of life and all these various parts that are often not seen when we get too disparate in parts. And so through that work of looking at beauty and looking at love, she became a conduit for loving herself. And she got her voice back. She became whole. And that little girl became Maya Angelou, poet laureate, voice of a nation in terms of wholeness and remembering who you are. And she has the book, I Know Why the Cage Birds Sing. Even though, you know, it's broken apart, it appears, because it's in a cage, it can't be free, it can't express itself. But she says, I know why the cage bird sings. Because she understood what it meant to be whole. And that once I'm whole, you can't put me in a cage. You can't hold me down. You can't hold me back. And that's why this idea for this month of wholeness, embracing wholeness and loving all of our parts, she had to begin to love that part of herself that was traumatized. And I'll let you go look at her story to figure out what that trauma was. But she overcame it. And so when we begin to allow this to happen and allow some part of us that has gone silent within each and every one of us, there's a part that we've silenced. I mean, completely silenced for whatever reason, whether it's a dream or an aspiration or a relationship or experiencing tenderness. Now is the time to reawaken it and embrace it into the oneness of who you are, so that you and me and everybody can become the poet laureate of their own life and tell your own story. And you too can make the explanation, I know why the cage bird sings. Let us pray. Dear Mother, Father God, that idea of wholeness, that idea of embracing the opposite and allowing it to be the exploration and aspirations and the becoming of who we are. The process of renewal and resurrection and rising from the ashes, to allow the oneness to be revealed. We know that as the divine mind of infinite intelligence moves and has its way with us, we too are reminded that we have that same ability for creation and for joining things together and for allowing people to really, really say yes to life. Yes to all its parts. Yes to the things we like, to the things we don't like, but remembering that there is oneness in the universe. And so in that idea of oneness, we step into a whole new way of seeing the world, of acting, of being. And so I know right here, right now, for all of us in this room, that's those online and those who may listen to this later, I know we are awakening to the oneness of who we are. And we are love-ing. Love-ing. That's a process of embracing all the parts of ourselves so that we can stand tall in the service of the divine, to be a mirror to others, to embrace ourselves and to see what it means to be whole. And so it is in that wholeness, that understanding that all things work together for the good of God, that we give thanks, that we give praise, and that we allow ourselves to surrender into this idea of oneness. And it is in that idea that I release this prayer into a law that is always working to elevate us to our highest being and to allow us to be exactly what we were created to be. And that is divine emanations of the Most High God. And so I release, I let go, and I know that it is so. And so it is. Amen. So it is. And so it is. Amen. And thank you. Thank you. Now's that time for sacred giving. We love, well, no, it's not. I told a story. It's called to actions because we got to do that. Because we don't practice this stuff, ain't nothing happening. So there are 3 call to actions for this week. The first one is a mirror blessing. Each morning, look into the mirror and say, I honor and love all of myself. The one life is living as me now. You can do one or all of these. Then remembering who you are, choose one part of yourself you have rejected and write in a compassionate letter to that part of yourself. And the third thing is return to simplicity. Spend 10 minutes in silence without fixing, improving, or analyzing yourself. Simply breathe and be. And you'll be able to find these on the website. We post these on the website every Sunday. So if you didn't get a chance to take a picture or a screenshot or whatever it is we're doing, they'll be there. And our weekly newsletter. Exactly. It's in the weekly newsletter. So the affirmation for this week is I embrace and honor all of who I am, and so it is. And so now it's that time for sacred giving. I got ahead of myself. I was separated. I wasn't whole. I'm whole now. I'm back to being whole. And so we want to thank you for the time and treasure and talents that you give to CSL Denver, for being with us and giving to us. And so if you look at the different ways you can give running across the bottom of the screen by P.O. Box, text to give, in the sanctuary, or however you give, we appreciate it. And if you can repeat this affirmation to anchor this idea, place your hand on your heart if it's comfortable. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. Amen. And so Tim is going to come up and give us some announcements, and then we're going to close out. Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Okay, we do have the July and August Science of Mind magazines over on the table. They are $10 for the 2-month issue.
I want to put in a plug for this month's issue. John Waterhouse is doing the Daily Word, and he's going through the What We Believe line by line, and it is one of the most exquisite readings I've done in a long time. So
there you go. So it's worth
any doubt.
It's worth every penny of it for this month. And I agree with you there. I've been reading them every morning as well. So go ahead and you can pick them up over there on the table. Right after service, we have our mindful meditation moment and coffee social, where we'll focus on quieting the mind and being fully present in the now without any judgment. And we just follow that up with socializing and discussion over coffee, tea, snacks, water, however you would like. And also mark your calendars for the end of this month, July 26th at 10 o'clock. We have our community cafe. We disband with our normal service, and one of our practitioners or Reverend Elzia brings a presentation in, and we also bring a potluck, which we don't broadcast, and it's just kind of everybody participates. It's really actually an enriching program that we've started. And this month, it's going to be prayer beads as a technology for the soul. And Reverend Elzia is going to be presenting it, and we're going to be making our own prayer beads this month. So please join us for that. At the back of the room, we have our curiosity corner. It's a lot of books, and there's some mandalas there and other things. And we have a bargain basement on the right side where everything's $1. And on the left table, everything is priced as marked. And there's CDs, there's DVDs. There's a lot of information. There's some Ernest Holmes books there as well. So go ahead and browse that after service. And there's a place that you can just make your change on the table. And we are blessed to have New Thought Media Network, and Diego is our Sunday service producer. So we invite you to go to www.ntmedia.org. That's www.ntmedia.org. Check out what they have. They have over 40 hours of weekly broadcast. And we are truly blessed by everyone who's chosen to support Center for Spiritual Living Denver by showing up on Sundays and watching our services online. We know as we move through the rest of this year that the Divine Beloved is guiding and loving each and every one of us. And we thank you for joining us. Now let us go ahead and close out with Denise Rosier singing Love is Everything. Thank you.
It's a power that moves like the mighty seas, a peace that brings wars to cease. It's the voice that calls us into being. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? It's the joy that makes a songbird sing.